Pain is something that you can't avoid in life. Everybody's going to experience pain. Everybody's going to experience hurt. Okay, suffering is when we as individuals choose to hold on to that pain and not let go of it beyond its expiration date. We're the people who create our own suffering. And the best way to move past that suffering is to recognize that I have been hurt. I cannot fight past this. I need to work through it.
I held the weight of the world in my hands, but I let it go. Now I understand. I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm alive. I'm living my best recovered life.
You're listening to the Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives. And here is your host, Damon Frank.
And welcome back to the Recovered Life Show. We've got a great show for you today. I have my buddy Darrin Dennis who's been here several times, and I'm so glad to have him back. And we're going to be talking about what is emotional sobriety and why does it matter. Listen, guys, we hear a lot on the TikTok lives. I hear on Recovered Life TV all the time about, well, why can't I just get sober? And when I just get sober and I drop it, and I drop the alcohol or the drugs, I just end up in the same situation. What's going on here? And I say, it has to also do with your emotional sobriety as well as your physical sobriety. So bringing up my guest right now, Darrin Dennis. How are you?
I'm great, Damon. How are you?
I am doing so great. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We love to have you. And this is an important matter. Emotional sobriety.
Absolutely. Honestly, I think emotional sobriety is really the depth of what we're talking about when it comes to sobriety of all types, all kinds of sobriety. So if you're not dealing with what drove you to the substance or the issue that you're dealing with in the first place, you're going to go right back.
You're so right. And I think this is the difference between somebody who maybe had a problem with a substance, maybe even had a addiction, I'm going to say, right? And then, this doesn't work for me anymore. They walk away. They don't think about it anymore. I always say, Darrin, the big problems with alcoholics and addicts is after they get sober, because our thinking is different than other people. Can you tell me, like, can you tell people what is emotional sobriety? What actually is it? Because I think this confuses people.
Yeah, I think I would describe emotional sobriety as figuring out what feelings you're trying to avoid through the use of the substance or the technology or whatever it is that you're addicted to, and being honest with that and going through the process of dealing with whatever that emotional scar or emotional injuries may be, and allowing yourself to heal from that, and continuing on a healing process, whether that's through a 12-step program or through continued therapy, whatever.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm a big pusher of all the above because I tell people they'll come onto the TikTok lives, Darrin, and I'll say, it's you're here because you're a seeker.
Mm-hmm.
You're here. Most people I find, it's rare that I meet somebody who has not started this recovery journey that's not a seeker. But I said, you don't want to be a seeker in the physical sobriety thing forever.
Right.
You want to quit seeking that. You want to then move on to the emotional stuff, the spiritual stuff.
Yep.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room, which is emotional irregulation? I don't know. Am I saying that right? Not feeling like it.
I think what you're talking is emotional dysregulation.
Dysregulation. That's what I meant to say. Can we talk about it? Because I think, and it depending when you come in and how you come in and your physical, and emotional sense and the mental health thing that any mental health issues you might be going through, which I believe addiction is a mental health issue. So you're already going through one, right?
Yep.
You're going to have you're going to be all over the place in your thinking and emotions, right? And
Absolutely.
isn't that a normal thing?
It's a normal thing to have emotions, absolutely. I mean, we're all human beings and we all feel them whether we want to admit it or not. And as for emotions being all over the place, absolutely. One of the things I tell my clients on a regular basis is one of the wonderfully messed up things about being a human being is that we can feel all these emotions all at the same time, which can be really, really confusing. We can be both really upset, really super, if I can say, super pissed off, and in love with somebody at the same time, and feel both those things at the same time, which can lead to a lot of confusion. I think, Damon, you hit it right on the head when you're talking about people being seekers. They're looking for understanding. They're looking to understand themselves better, and they're looking to understand the way they function in the world better. And
Yeah.
the whatever it is that they're addicted to has gotten in the way of that. And the other thing is that whatever it is they're addicted to, it turns some of those feelings off. It shuts those things down, and we just feel good in the moment, and that can be a hard thing to let go of.
Well, the old 12 step said if you became an alcoholic at 18, 19 years old and you're now 30, that was a whole period of time where you were not really growing and
That's right.
maturing and knowing how to deal with life, awake, aware, and alive, as I say. You're
Yep.
not really, and the thing that's interesting about this emotional side of sobriety is I really believe this is the game. This is really what it's about. The
Yeah.
physical part of it seems very, very big. Um,
Yeah.
when you first get in, it does. And I
Hmm.
talked with I talked with this guy yesterday,
Mm.
and Darren, he was telling me, and you'll relate to this as somebody who works with people, in therapy, that um he was telling me about how he just really feels like he's given up so much. And now
Mm.
some of the behavior that he has 2 years sober, he's like, I have to give this up again. And I'm like, you're gonna be going through awareness. This doesn't work for me. Willingness, surrender, leaning in on faith, and then doing massive action. You're going to be doing this the rest of your life. And this is normal.
Hmm.
This is a good thing,
Right.
and he was like, oh, this is a good thing. And I'm like, this is a good thing.
It's called growth. That's what you're describing, Damon. I mean, if you think about it, whether we're talking about people with addiction issues or not, everybody grows and changes and gives up old behaviors and replaces them with new ones. I mean, hopefully we're not the same people today as adults that we were when we were teenagers. And I mean, if you've ever worked with teenagers or know anything about teenagers, if you compare their behavior to something that like a child would exhibit, that makes them pretty upset because they believe that they've grown past that. And in many cases, they're right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the interesting thing is when we're talking about the emotion sides, I want to dive in because as an expert in this and working with people, and especially people that are in sobriety,
Mhm.
I find that like it is layers of an onion. I felt my own thing is like I discovered thing at a year, 5 years,
Mhm.
10 years, 20, right? I
Right.
keep I keep feeling like I'm discovering things emotionally that like, oh, that thinking, or why am I having this emotion? Like I shared with a friend the other day that I was like, I had this emotion of fear, and this is old thinking. It's an old emotion, old thinking attached to an old story that's not even relevant in my life. It has no really it's BS really, right? It really
Right.
has no relevance here. But yet emotionally, I still sometimes feel like I'm back in that place in
Yeah.
early sobriety when I suffer from this issue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. From a therapeutic standpoint, what you're talking about is something called regression. When we suffer a really major emotional injury at any point in our life, but especially in childhood, when that emotion that we're trying to avoid gets triggered, or people trip over it by accident, or we even trigger it ourselves and we're not even aware of what that is, our thinking and sometimes even our behavior will regress to the age that we were when the injury was sustained. So that's what you're talking about. You're talking about that old thinking, old ways of behaving, because all behavior is caused, and most behavior is caused by either choice or by the feelings that we're experiencing. And when you're talking about a person with an addiction issue, sometimes the thinking, or quite often the thinking, isn't always 100% there. So they immediately revert back to that emotional state when they sustain the emotional injury. I wanted to go back and talk about the layers of the onion. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to use that analogy myself. The physical sobriety is sort of like the top of the onion, and I'm not taking away anybody's progress or any of the work that a person's done to become physically sober, because that's huge. That's a massive step. The next step beyond that is to peel that layer back and keep diving deep to find out what exactly was the emotional injury that was sustained, or emotional injuries that were sustained, that led the person to coping through the addiction.
Mm, I love that. And I always say that people that refuse to do the work, you might be done with alcohol and drugs, but it's not done with you.
That is
So if
correct.
you if you if you refuse to do the work here, and there have been several times, Darren, and I'm sure everybody has this, it's a human experience, but I think the ramifications for people that are in recovery are bigger, because our thinking can lead us to a place that's very dangerous, a place that we might not
Hmm.
be able to come back from. But there's
Hmm.
been times in my life, Darren, where I've said, I know I have to deal with this one thing,
Right.
but I just can't deal with it right now. Is it just me? Is it just me? Like I feel like
No.
I've gotten things in stages. Sometimes it's like it
Sure.
becomes to a point where it's like I can't put up with myself doing this one more time. That's it. I'm gonna now I'm willing. Now I'm
Yeah.
willing.
Yeah. A therapist colleague of mine, right at the very beginning of my journey into therapy, reminded me of the reality that people don't change until they're in enough pain that they have to. And the behaviors that you're talking about, of course, everybody exhibits the desire to or the pushback on doing something. As I said, physical sobriety is not easy. It's hard.
Yeah.
They're addiction's a real thing. Our bodies react to either the alcohol that we're putting into our bodies, or the drugs that we're putting into our bodies, or the chemicals our brains are creating while we look at either porn or technology addiction or whatever it is. And Because that's hard, because that's difficult, a lot of people get through that and they recognize, okay, I'm done with this thing. Mm, and then they like, I'm tired. It's been a rough slog. I don't want to put any more effort, so I'm gonna chill out. And I respect that. I respect the work that they've done. And just like you said, they might be done with the substance, but the substance isn't done with them.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
they need to, whether they take a plateau for a little while. I mean, they've been working up a hill as they get sober, right? Maybe they need to plateau a little bit before they take the next step. But that plateau can be dangerous, because that's when relapse happens,
Yeah,
right?
and I think I want to say too is like a lot of people, this scares people in early sobriety because they look at this mountain of stuff that they know they don't want to look at it, but they know it's there.
Right.
And it's not all at once. Like it isn't all at
No,
once. And it's
no,
not
no,
going to
no,
be treacherous every day of your life, right?
no. Of course not.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I want to say that up front because I think the feeling is for a lot of people it is because look,
Mm,
I say being sober long term, Darren, like awake, aware, and alive is amazing. It's amazing, but it also can be very rough. It could be walking naked through a cactus patch. You feel everything. You feel
absolutely,
everything,
absolutely. And if you've
and we
been
don't
used
have the luxury to check out like that.
Right. If you've been used to putting on that armor of the substance as you're going through the cactus patch, you don't feel a thing except for safe, right? And then suddenly all these emotions and all these thoughts are coming at you that you used to deaden or used to shut down through whatever you were addicted to. So yeah, that can be a scary thing. All right. But the way you make it through that cactus patch is one very small step at a time. You don't go racing through it. You don't go punching through it. And the wonderful thing about so many different sobriety programs is that there are other people that are there to show you the way, to help you through. And yeah, every once in a while you're going to feel some emotion, or you're going to get stuck by a cactus. But you'll experience that a lot less if you move through the process slowly.
Absolutely. And and I think you'll know when it's time, right? Like
Yeah,
when it's
absolutely.
time when it's to work on thing. I always love people in early sobriety, they're gonna tackle everything.
Yeah,
They're gonna lose 30 pounds, they're gonna be buff, they're gonna be at the gym all the time, they're gonna make $1 million and they're drunk 30 days later.
right. Well,
Right?
that's why.
Because you can't do that.
No. Every program worth of salt will say you cannot make major changes in your life other than working on your sobriety for at least the first year of your initial sobriety process or your initial journey, right? Don't move, don't get divorced, don't break up, don't break up, don't start a new relationship or anything like that. You need to focus on developing not the resistance, but the resilience
Yeah.
for the feelings and the thoughts that you're going to be experiencing.
Darren, when we come back, we're going to answer the magic question that everybody wants to ask you. This is a big question. How do you do this? How do you
Cool.
practice getting emotional balance in your life? How do you work on this? When we come back, we're going to dive into that topic.
Sounds great.
Recovery isn't just a journey, it's a lifestyle. And now, you can wear your recovery with pride. The Recovered Life Shop is live, packed with merch designed just for people in recovery. Whether it's a hoodie to keep you warm, a mug to start your day right, or a statement tee that lets the world know you're living your best recovered life. Need a little humor in your recovery? Grab the Resentment Some Assembly Required t-shirt. It's a classic. Ready to take massive action? Start your day with the Massive Action coffee mug. Or keep it simple and spiritual with the Chopwood Fetch Water Trucker hat. Every piece is designed to inspire, start conversations, and keep you connected to your recovery journey. And the best part? Every purchase supports great content like this and spreads the recovery message. So go to recoveredlife.tv and click on the Shop tab now.
Once a pickle, you can't be a cucumber again. Once a pickle, you can't be a cucumber again. Once an alcoholic, you can't be a social drinker again. I've tried to turn back into a cucumber, I can't. I've tried to turn back into a cucumber, I can't. I've tried to be a social drinker, I can't. I like pickles, I like cucumbers, I like cucumbers.
You're listening to the Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives.
And I like cucumbers.
And we're back with Darren Dennis. We're talking about the E word, the dreaded E word, emotions, emotional sobriety, and why does it matter? Darren,
Yes.
emotions. This would be an easy thing if we didn't have to think or feel.
Isn't that the truth? But then life would be so boring because we'd all be a bunch of robots.
Exactly. Well, we're diving into it, guys. We're asking Darren the magic question here. How do we achieve some sort of emotional balance? Because I will tell you, even if you're not in the right place, even if long-term sobriety, you can just go off the rails. And it might not be drinking or using, but you're going to do stupid things, say stupid things, act in a stupid way.
Yes.
How do you do it? How do you start practicing this and making it part of your recovery journey?
That's an excellent question. Well, I mean, it's no big surprise I'm a psychotherapist, so the first thing I'm going to push is therapy. Okay. And just be really clear, therapy is not for crazy people. Okay. Therapy is really something for everybody. Everybody needs somebody to talk to at some time. And therapists are people that are trained to help you identify what emotions you're struggling with and why, and what's the source of that emotional struggle, and then helping you really work through that process and eventually healing from, as I've been stating, that emotional injury or those emotional injuries that have led to the substance use or the addiction, whatever type of addiction it is. Um, you know, I recognize that a lot of people are resistant to therapy. So I want to be able to give them some guidance and some assistance here as well. So really, the first thing I would say is if you're not up for doing therapy, get yourself an emotion journal. And every day, usually either in the morning or the night, probably the nighttime, review the feelings that you had over the day and write them down. Just write down the feelings. And if you don't know, if you don't have the vocabulary for for a large range of feelings, go online, go to the Google Images and search for something called a feelings wheel. That will give you all sorts of vocabulary around your emotions, so you can be more specific. The reason that you're writing your emotions down in this journal is you're externalizing them. You're getting them out of your head and you're putting them down on some place that is safe, that nobody else needs to know that you're doing this or where the journal is. So that way you don't have to try to constantly be thinking about or trying to regulate or trying to control that emotion in your head, because by doing that, other emotions and other thoughts are going to get entangled with all of that, and it's just going to be a mess.
I love when you were talking about the emotions wheel, because I use that. And I think language is important, especially the language we tell ourselves. And one of the things we do on the live, when people will come up and they'll ask for help, I'll say, you just have to start asking different questions, because you're getting the same crappy answer all the time, and it's not leading you anywhere, right? And I love the emotions wheel, because I find a lot of times, and I'll tell you a breakthrough I had, is I thought I was a struggler. And I realized on certain things that I was struggling with, I wasn't a struggler, I was a sufferer.
Right.
Right? Because a struggler meant that I was still in battle with something. I had lost this particular thing, right? So I'm not a struggler, but I'm telling myself I'm a struggler as if I'm somehow emotionally putting myself in that I'm fighting this or whatever. I lost.
Yeah.
Right. And I think this is the thing that most alcoholics and addicts have a problem with, is that they're using this wrong. They're saying the wrong things. They're asking these wrong questions, and they're getting disempowering, negative, what I call lower victim consciousness thinking, that keeps them trapped there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I love the fact that you use the word suffering, because pain and suffering are not the same thing, especially when it comes to addiction, especially when it comes to emotional injuries. Pain is something that you can't avoid in life. Everybody's going to experience pain. Everybody's going to experience hurt. Okay, suffering is when we as individuals choose to hold on to that pain and not let go of it beyond its expiration date. We're the people who create our own suffering. And the best way to move past that suffering is to recognize that I have been hurt. I cannot fight past this. I need to work through it.
Yeah. And I think therapy is good for identifying things. And can we talk about that? Because this is, I'm just going to tell you, somebody who came through 12 steps, and but I do not hide it at all. I'm a huge fan of 12 steps. I think they're great. But also now that I've coached and done a lot of mindfulness and done a ton of other things in the 31-year journey that I've done this, I also know it's not everything. It's perfect the way it is, but it's not everything. And there were other things I had to do, but I was afraid to go to therapy, Darrin. I'm going to tell you, I was afraid because I didn't want to lose the sobriety I had. I thought somehow, I know this is, I look back now and I laugh about it because, but I'm not the only one. I mean, I've worked with people that are like, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to say one thing and then that's going to be it. I'm going to lose my sobriety. I'm going to, nothing, I'm going to be off kilter again. And I think so many of us, Darrin, have walked this path. It was very hard fought to get what we had.
Absolutely.
Right? And now we don't want to just really, we value our recovery. We don't want to mess it up. And I found that wasn't the case. Although I had problems with therapy too, just like I had problems, like everybody has problems with everything. But that wasn't the case when I went to therapy. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what's not going to happen? They're not going to brainwash you and all that, because I do people feel that.
Yeah, no, therapists are not people that are interested in brainwashing you. I've actually encountered people who think that therapists can read your mind. Can't do that. Believe you me, if I had the power of reading minds, I'd put on a spandex outfit and go out there saving the world as a superhero. But therapists don't do that. What therapists do and what therapy is an opportunity for you to form a relationship with a person who has your best interests at heart. Okay, as the client, as the patient, your therapist has your best interests at heart. They show you unconditional positive regard. They don't judge, and they come alongside you in your journey, and they help you recognize things that maybe you have blind spots around, or things that you can't see because you're too close to the issue. Therapists help point those things out. Many therapists will also help you develop the skills necessary for managing those emotions in the moment. And then any good therapist will also eventually help you face the emotions or face the injury that's developed those feelings and help you process it, meaning talk about it, work through it in a safe environment where there's no judgment there, and hopefully there's no fear. Okay?
Well, I love the insight. I like the, I got something life-changing in regards to codependency through that I didn't know, which I always say is the graduate school. We were talking about this on live today. I'm like, look, like AA is great, NA is great, Dharma's great, all these workshops are great.
Right.
You want to go to graduate school, you go to Al-Anon and you work on setting healthy boundaries. And so many of us just didn't have the model, because if you had an alcoholic parent, as you know, Darrin, you deal with this every day. You have an alcoholic parent, you don't have a model of what good emotional hygiene is.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
Can you talk about that a lot in the daily practices of how do you have good emotional hygiene? How do you recognize when something's not right, or maybe it is right? I'm just having these feelings and having these thoughts.
Right. Yeah. Good emotional hygiene. Honestly, I think the way to start each day is with an attitude of gratitude. And I know that's something that a lot of sobriety programs, 12-step programs are really big about helping people find the benefit in the small things in life. So waking up in the morning and taking the opportunity to be thankful for the things that you have, for the life that you have, for the sobriety that you have, for the journey that you're on. That's a great way to frame your mind at the beginning of the day in a positive way. Doesn't mean you're not going to face trials. It doesn't mean you're not going to have hard days. It just means that you're going to be in a better emotional place for dealing with those adversities as they come up. Yeah. Okay. Second thing I would say that's necessary for good emotional hygiene is boundaries. You mentioned them before. They're really, really important. Many people who are addicts have no boundaries. They don't really understand what boundaries are. When people implement boundaries with them, they get upset because they've never been told no before. They've never had anybody hold them accountable. Okay. When you can hold yourself accountable, and then you can implement boundaries with other people, friends, work relationships, family relationships, or whatever, you don't let those people trample on your feelings. And you also mentioned codependency. You don't find your meaning in other people's feelings. You find your meaning. You find meaning in your own. Yes. Okay. And then the last thing that I would say that's really important for a good emotional hygiene is being mindful. Mindfulness is kind of a bugaboo word in the therapy world. And what it really means is, it's not some like magical formula or anything like that. What mindfulness means is being intentional about your attention in the moment. Focus on what you're thinking and feeling now. Don't live in the past. Don't live in the future. Have goals for the future. Reminisce about the past, but live in the now. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, but don't let your feelings dictate your behavior if your feelings are not matching up with what you believe is the correct behavior in some way.
You know what? I think that is the key, I have to tell you. And, we do a little meditation where sometimes, on TikTok, people will come up that are really suffering and struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And when I bring them into the here and now,
mm-hmm.
they start to realize, as the observer, that maybe there is a place that they don't struggle. Maybe there is a place, right? And it's so beautiful when the light goes on, because they did not know it was there. And I always say sobriety, Darren, and I don't know what you think about this as a psychotherapist, but
Mhm.
I believe sobriety, especially emotional sobriety,
Mhm.
is a consciousness. It's a way of being. It's a way of being that
Yes.
allows you to be comfortable in the right here, right now. Because I'll tell you, I've never met somebody who's suffering from an addiction that's comfortable in the here and now.
Yeah.
I don't, and I don't know a lot. And also people that are struggling and suffering in sobriety, they're not okay in the here and now,
Yeah.
but don't have the out of the substance.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that statement. And I've never heard anybody put it as a consciousness before, but I like that. I like that way of putting it. A state of being where you are in the now, where you are functioning in the moment. And I think the only way that we can really get there is if we can accept ourselves for where we are and who we are in that moment from moment to moment. All the good about ourselves, all the not so good about ourselves, and not focusing on the negative or not focusing only on the positive, but accepting all of it and saying, yes, this is who I am, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, and I'm going to manage this the best I can in the moment so I can make it to the next.
Yeah. And it's hard to, I say consciousness because it's kind of a medium tempered word that
Sure.
people don't be, but it's hard to describe the place, right? Like it's
Right.
hard to describe it in words, but I like how you put that. And I want to jump in here in closing because I think there's a lot of people that suffer because they don't go to therapy or they won't get additional help.
Right.
And they know something's going on with them emotionally,
Hmm.
and they have done everything that they could do. And I have met people, and I've been like that in certain things in my life.
Yep.
And there was something else going on. And we talk a lot about co-occurring disorders here.
Hmm.
BPD. We just did a big thing on borderline, which is
Yep.
very prevalent in with people that suffer from addiction and in
Yes.
recovery,
Yep.
anxiety, depression, all kinds of stuff. When do you know, as somebody who is maybe working on the solo or in a group like a 12-step group or something, that maybe something else is going on that you're not seeing in other people, right? Because I've seen that. Like I've told people that I've worked with is like, hey, you need to go because this is not that it's not the common experience. I don't want to say that, but maybe this is something more that you're not going to be able to self manage.
Right. Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the voice in your head that is uncomfortable with being in the moment, just building off of what you said earlier, Damon, people in addiction can't handle being in the moment because they're always either afraid of what the addiction has done, or they're chasing their next high, or their next fix, or however you want to put it. If you have made it through the physical addiction part and you made it to physical sobriety, but you're still having difficulty emotionally sitting in the moment, there's a discomfort there. There's something coming up that you don't want to deal with, so you keep shoving it down. That's a good indication that that therapy would be really positive for you.
Yeah, and there's very real
Good.
things. There's very real things because a lot of people that end up into recovery or had dysfunction in their families.
Oh yes.
I've heard things that are like, toe curling. Like I was like, this is not something that you're going to be able to handle by yourself alone. We're not going to be able to think. And I think already that sometimes our thinking is a little warped anyway in recovery.
Yeah.
Definitely about our relationship with alcohol and substances. And we do know that without this emotional pursuit, we do end up sliding back closer to the using
That's
of
correct.
the substance.
Yep.
Why is that from a psychology standpoint? Why is that?
Yeah. Because the reason that we were using in the first place is because there's that emotional injury or emotional injuries that we've suffered from either our dysfunctional family or from from a relationship breakup, or a divorce, or whatever it is. And you may not even be 100% aware of what that emotional injury or what those injuries are at the moment, but they're there. And the evidence of that is the fact that the way you are coping with those injuries is not by seeking emotional health, but by seeking emotional numbing through the use of the substance. So I don't think I can put it any more succinctly than that.
No, I think this is great. I think this is such great information for people. Final thoughts here for people who, maybe this isn't their first rodeo with trying to deal with emotions.
Right.
And maybe they've been told all their life, you're a basket case, right? And you're never going to be able to really get your emotions in check. You're never really going to have great emotional sobriety, right? And they're thinking this. Maybe they're not even being told it, but it's their thought pattern. Is there a way out? Because I think a lot of people believe, well, it's just the cards I was dealt. I'm lucky to be sober. And I always say there's more than that. There's your best recovered life. We want your best recovered life. We don't want you just to be sober, right? But a lot of people feel like, well, I got sober. Is there really hope for me to be able to really create something more emotionally than just being physically sober?
Excellent question. Yeah. If you're one of those people who feels like I'm gonna use the word, I'm gonna settle for physical sobriety, and I'm just gonna be a quote unquote basket case for the rest of my life, give it a try. Call up a therapist, go to Psychology Today, look through a bunch of therapists, find one that is willing to meet with you for free for 15 minutes, whether that's in person or on the phone, and just be straight with them and say, I'm not sure that I can achieve emotional sobriety. Or I'm not sure that I can get to a place where I'm emotionally healthy and living my best recovered life. If that person's the right connection with you, they'll want to know why. Why is it that you feel that way? And they'll ask the right questions, and you'll begin developing a relationship that has the potential to be life-changing for the both of you.
I love this. Psychotherapist Darrin Dennis. Guys, if you're a Recovered Life Plus subscriber or you're a subscriber on TikTok, hold tight. You're going to want to see, we're going to post the after the show. He's going to come back here in just a second with the after the show. We're going to dig in about these blocks. Why do some people are able to push through them and other people are not? Darrin, thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Hey, if you like this episode, think about supporting us by becoming a Recovered Life Plus member. At Recovered Life TV, we're not just delivering premium recovery resources, we're empowering you with the knowledge and tools that make a real difference in the quality of your recovery. By subscribing, you gain access to ad-free content, expert insights, exclusive video and audio segments, special projects, plus so much more, all while supporting our mission to spread the recovery message far and wide. Whether you're seeking to deepen your understanding or stay updated on the latest addiction and mental health recovery trends, Recovered Life Plus is for you. Subscribe now and start living your best recovered life. Just go to recoveredlife.tv and become a Plus member today.